and this is just kind of to test things out.
To see what's looking
Yeah, it's great. As long as we're here.
like. Welcome to Healing Conversations. Wait, the energy is shifting. Welcome to Healing Conversations, where we talk all things healing, expansion, and growth. And as we heal individually, we create that ripple effect for the collective to heal through our own beingness.
Yes, and today we're talking about family healing. When I got some things to say, I won't be spilling all my tea. But I'm gonna give you some context so that you know what's going on. But my name is Angelique. If you don't know who I am, I'm a brother of Ray Mills, sister friend, and I love these conversations. They always help to lighten my heart, enlighten my energy, give me energy, and I really appreciate y'all's contributions. So if you have something that you want to share, let us know in the comments or jump on.
And jump on. We definitely invite you all to participate, whether it's through your engagement, whether it's you coming up to the virtual stage and letting yourself be heard, be seen.
Speaking of being seen, I'm like, I'm like,
And allowing yourself to use your voice, because that's really how we express, we feel, we heal. So today we are talking about healing and family. And I think we don't talk about this a lot. Like a lot of times when you're on this healing journey, the hardest part I can say for myself has been knowing that balance of honoring yourself, honoring your journey, honoring where you are, but also becoming aware that a lot of our family hasn't chosen to take that step into their own healing, their own expansion, their own growth. And that's where a lot of times when we try to have interactions with family, it makes us at times feel it's like, wait, am I healing? Is this work working? Because you find that you're triggered by those interactions. You find that you maybe go into an old habit, an old way, and really having that ability to stand strong and stay grounded in this new being that you are becoming and not get pulled back into that old version of yourself that isn't healed because you're mirroring where they are. And often they can pull you there if you are vulnerable and weak. You can get pulled into that old way of being. And I share this because I just had, well, for on this journey of mine, I've, out of my family that I know of, I won't speak what I don't know, but that I'm aware of, is the only one who has chosen to do that inner work, to heal myself, because I didn't want to repeat the same cycles of what I grew up in. I didn't want to stay in the same just habits, patterns, environments that I was accustomed to. So I chose to do this work. And as I started to do this work, I realized that what I experienced in my childhood really affected me. It really made me become this version of myself, not that I currently am, but that I've been throughout my journey. And when I say version of myself, I was always victimized by life. No coincidence, I'm experiencing something today. And I have the choice. Are you going to be the victim? Or are you going to be the victor? I will always have this belief that I couldn't trust people. I couldn't trust things. And I had to wait for the shoe to drop because things just weren't meant to be just smooth sailing and would flow. And even in the sense of being argumentative, like I was at one point in the journey, I didn't like to hear what I didn't want to hear. So I would avoid it and I would just talk over people and I wouldn't allow them to express because it made me uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable for someone to call me out. It made me uncomfortable for someone to expose what I thought I hid. So I would feel vulnerable. And I'm like, in the time before I started doing this work, when I felt vulnerable, I knew how to fight. And it wasn't always in the physical realm, but it was like with my words, through my energy, my demeanor. Like it was fight. I was like, oh no, I had to, and to unpack that, the reason why that fight what came about is because when you don't feel safe in your childhood, in your upbringing, when you don't feel heard or feel seen, you're not able at times to have that expression, have that aggression to fight back. So you hold it in, you hold it in, you hold it in, and as you grow into your adult life, it makes that fight become something that you're like, oh no, like you're gonna hear me, you're gonna see me, you're going to show love to me. And I would notice that before I started this work, that's how I reacted, or I would just stay muted and I wouldn't let anything out because I didn't feel safe to express. I didn't feel worthy enough to be heard. So I just stayed muted and kept it all bottled in. And since I've been on this journey of healing, remembering who I am and what I am, I noticed that my encounters with family have been a little more, I don't even know how to describe it. I just know it's been interesting. It's the better word to say it because I don't react in the same way. I'm able to be aware of when they're in their hurt, when they're in their pain, when they're in their projection. So I could meet them where they are in the sense of seeing this is where you are, but not get lost in where they are. Don't allow myself to be pulled into the chaos, the drama, the disrespect, and knowing how to honor myself when I don't feel seen, don't feel heard, don't feel loved. And when they are wanting me to perform, cutting that cord so I can live my life with liberation and freedom and not be this robot or puppet being doing just to have something and honoring and respecting where I am, who I am, and allowing that to be what I stand in.
Yes, yes. Wow, that's a lot that I resonate with that. Um, and I had a conversation this week with some family members as well. And like you were saying earlier, here's the thing, anybody can pull you into their energy if you're not like aware. You know, anybody can pull you into anger or frustration or depression or hostility if you are not aware of your own energy. But that's especially true for family because we have so much history with them. We have had so much emotional connection with them. You know, we're literally like blood related, you feel me? Or even if it's like adopted family or like just people who you call family that you've known since your childhood. You've known them in a very vulnerable season of your life. You've seen a lot of things together. So when we have these experiences with them where we're in one energy state and they're in another energy state, we are more drawn to exchange that energy with one another. And the thing about somebody who's in like a lower vibrational frequency and somebody who's in a higher vibrational frequency, the person who is in the lower state, the likelihood of them being willing to come up to a higher frequency isn't as natural as somebody coming down. You know, at least that's from my own personal observation myself. If that's not true for you, you know, like Sandra says, take what resonates, leave what don't. But I found that to be true. And that's also sort of scientific because there is the law of um, compensation. And some people say it's like what you put out, you get compensated for, but there's also like natural balance compensation where things go from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. So with energy, if there's somebody with a high concentration of energy and then there's somebody with a low concentration of energy, the high energy is going to get filtered out into the low energy. Getting a little technical here, but stay with me. And so when I was having this conversation with my family, the first thing I noticed on when I picked up the phone was kind of like this melancholic, like just low, like not really, you know, just not happy energy. And in my first thought, I was like, oh, here we go, you know. here we go with this. And I had to monitor myself because, like Renell said, there was this expectation of me to kind of be this performer, be this puppet, like bring up the energy, help people feel good and smile and laugh and see the bright side. You know, even when I was battling my own internal things that nobody knew about. Hey, Serene. And so I had this unconscious sense that I had the obligation to pour into other people and keep pouring into other people, trying to lift them up and try to lift them up so that, you know, we can all just be one happy family. Hey, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
We could just be one happy family and we don't have any problems. Let's just all, you know, be better now, you know. And I felt that part of me coming up, and I had to, one, remember that I don't have to do that. That is not my responsibility. That is not my obligation. I don't need to be that person anymore because one, it don't serve me. And then the second thing was remembering that I started up here and just maintaining that and not allowing the conversation or their tone or their energy to alter me, you know, because when I had the understanding of, oh, I feel myself going into this performance mode, but I don't want to go there, it kind of creates this sense of wanting to protect myself. And a protective energy is not where I was. You know, I was in like an open, I was just like listening to some, you know, new lectures I had found, you know, I'm like high vibrational, keeping myself up. And I was like, okay, I have to be mindful that I don't allow myself to get shut off from this conversation. And a part of that is still speaking in a positive light, you know, because that's the language that I use. Looking for solutions, looking for, well, not looking for solutions, like sharing solutions that come to me naturally just because that's what's coming to me, not because I'm trying to fix something, but that's just where my mind goes. And having to walk that line is very tricky. And like I was saying, you're doing this work and you go and you're engaging with family in some sort of conversation or interaction, and it's like, wow, is this working? Because I kind of feel like
Triggered.
yeah, I feel triggered. But in these moments, when you kind of like you sit back and you give yourself grace to be a having a human experience, right? You say like, oh, if I had been having this conversation even just last year, let alone like 5 or 10 years ago, it would have been totally different. So when you look at it from like a macro perspective, you do see the work, you do see the shift and the change and how you are navigating these conversations differently. And I think it's important to just realize like family is beautiful. Family is beautiful for helping you recognize like triggers are all around. We are abound with triggers, and that's okay. That is totally fine and normal, and we can navigate through them. And I'm grateful to have the tools to do that, to have the mindfulness to do that. Because if I hadn't, like I said, some years ago, before I was on this journey, I would have stepped right into that performing, like, let me come save the day with my happy, silly goofiness, even if my energy wasn't up here. Or even if it was, I would have been like, bleh, like a deflated balloon, just like. But I was able to have that awareness, so it was nice. Yeah.
I love that. And I love that you brought the compensation in and like how what we give out is what we will attract back, but also knowing that what is put out in regards to coming our way, we don't have to give it back. And I know that the experience I had with my family member this week, it was it was so many emotions that flowed through me, but I also was able to be present when I was tuning out and not listening. Because in the service that I provide for others, I hold space. I'm literally listening to people release what they are experiencing so we can get to the root and really help them shift and let that old stagnant energy out. And I bleed that into my friendships, into my relationships, whether it's family and just whatever area. And I noticed, like, with family, at times, my old way of not dealing with, I don't want to hear you. Because if I let it in, then it's not going to be something that it's going to resonate within me. But I've been more intentional with listening because as I've been doing my own work, I realized, y'all, like, my siblings, we grew up in the same household. And I have my own unique experience with trauma in the household, and I know how it's affected me. So with my other siblings, I know they've had their own unique trauma that they're still avoiding and not facing and not doing the internal work to let go. So that's where they're stuck. And in the case of the exchange with my this family member that I was speaking to, I know that they have this image of being like so hard, so tough, so just like, don't mess with me. But underneath that mask is a fragile, soft, loving, caring soul that doesn't know how to express itself in that way. So that hard exterior is how they push away people, things, so they won't get hurt, won't be harmed, and that they can feel safe. And I'm aware of that because of the work that I've done on myself, the work that I support others with, and how I serve. I know old coping styles. I know when a certain age or a certain version of you is showing up, and I can identify that. So in the exchange that I was having, I realized that they haven't felt safe to really be themselves or express themselves without having to perform or be this hard version of themselves. That I just listened, which allowed them to start to let out a lot. Because when you're not in that argument and you're just allowing someone to express, they hear themselves. They hear their words. So there's not you adding gasoline to the fire by trying to be right and prove them wrong. You're just listening to them. And through the little inserts that I was able to get in, I was able to just talk to them in a compassionate way, in a way like, well, those things affected you, and that's why you're acting this way, and that's why this may be coming up for you. So I was able to speak to that younger self and not that hard adult self that wants to let you know this is who I am and what I am. And as I started to speak to their younger self, that's when they started to express emotions. They actually had like a big let out of like release that they probably have never said or spoken out loud to anyone because they probably didn't feel safe to. So I held space for them and I'm like, let it out. This is how you feel. This is how you honor. This is how you get to the root, is what I was able to mirror to them. And through me just not expecting them to be anything or anyone other than who they are, I was able to see where they are. I was able to see, okay, you have done a little sprinkle of work, but you ain't in this work. And no judgment, but just awareness of, okay, so this is how I can interact with you, because I noticed that they kept talking over me. And at one point, I just was holding space to let them be heard. But when I was trying to now speak and express myself, they would just speak over me or they would talk down to me. Yeah, go ahead and talk. You can go ahead and talk. Like, you're giving me permission to speak. And that was triggering for me because growing up, that's what I dealt with. Growing up, I had to, in a sense, either stay muted or to overly express by yelling and getting into the explosion for myself to be heard. So that was kind of triggering, like, okay, Ramel, are you about to give this life for energy? And I noticed after I was trying to talk and they were not letting me because they just want to say what they want to say, and then they start talking down to me, I had to bring awareness like, yo, the caretakers that took care of us, this is what they did and what they still do. And you just spoke a lot about how you are not liking how they've treated you and how they're currently treating you, but you're repeating what they have done to you in this exchange right now. So I wanted to bring that awareness, like, well, the patterns that you are talking about are so toxic, you are actually living out and doing right now. and they didn't want to hear it. They just kept trying to shut me down and not let me speak. So at this point, I'm like, okay, this ain't a conversation. This is just you wanting to talk and you don't want to hear anyone else. And I just honored myself and I just disconnected myself from that conversation. And even doing that, and after I disconnected the conversation, I just take a moment to breathe because there was a lot of energy that was rushing through me. There was anger, there was frustration, there was confusion. There was a little sadness because it's like, why can I have these exchanges with my family? And it always has to be this ending with certain family members, not every family member, but certain family members. It has to be this way that we end off. We can't be in I love you, I'll talk to you later, wishing you well. It has to be like this kind of fight, this kind of battle that we have to be in. And it just really, so much came through for me that I was just able to, while I was driving, take some moments and just to breathe it out because I know had I not, I would have been lost in the woulda, coulda, shoulda of what that the conversation should have been. Hey, Angelique. And I wouldn't have let it pull me into what I should have done, what I should have said, how it could have been different versus just it is what it is. It was what it was, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be. And just being okay with that allowed me to not get lost in the dialogue of the mind, and I was able to drop into my heart and honor the feelings that needed to be released from me. And after I released it, it had no weight over me. And even they text me after saying something that was so irrelevant and pointless, but it just showed me like, thank you for showing me that I can't trust you. Thank you for showing me that I don't have that connection with you like we once did. And thank you for showing me that you still are stuck as this hurt little version of yourself that is making everyone the villain and you'll always be the victim. And I didn't feel as though I was the villain in that experience, but I was able to be aware that's how they categorize people in their life. Either you're this or you're that because this is who I am. And someone will always show you who they are by how they speak, how they express, how they act in life. And when you are aware of that, you're like, okay, I have the choice. Do I choose to entertain this or do I choose to honor myself and walk away from this? And I would say I've been more walking away from just different encounters that I've experienced with family because it doesn't serve me to stay trying to prove or overdo or make things happen. It allows me to say, okay, I love you, but I love me enough to not allow myself to be in the fire with you. But I'll always have that hand and have it available if you need support with being pulled out. But I can't save anyone, or not even save anyone. So I'm not saving anyone. Let me reverse that word. I'm not saving anyone, but I can't support someone who doesn't want it. And being okay with that allows me to know I can use my energy in spaces and places where it's received, where it's appreciated, where it's effective, and I'm not given to spaces and places where it won't even matter anyway. So why am I giving it? I'm always going to show up in love, but I'm not trying to force it. Because if it's not received, that means your heart's not open. And when a heart is not open, you're talking to deaf ears.
Yes. Oh, you said a lot there. You said a lot there.
Hey, Rosa.
Oh, hey, Rosa. Is that Rosa from this morning?
From this morning,
oh,
yes.
Hey, Rosa. It was nice meeting you and your babies. Um, wow. What really struck me was that kind of like last point that you had about if somebody's in the fire, you can't help them by being in the fire with them, but you can't reach your hand and say, it's not on fire over here. You for me, if they are willing to take your hand, but some people are adamant about burning, and just to say it in the simplest way, some people are very tied to the fire. They're very tied to the fire. And that's something that I also came to the, which I sort of already understood with my conversation as well. Um, and it was so interesting, and I'm really glad you brought that up because spirit really speaks to me. Because when I had that phone call and I had that moment of, wow, these people that I love are in this situation, and you know, I just did my best to be supportive how I could. My mind was also like, is there a way I could have been more supportive? Like, is there something more I could do going forward? And as I'm thinking this, I walk past this person sitting on a bus bench, and the back of their jacket said, "Save yourself."
Mm.
And it was this chick holding two like machete knives, and they were crossed over, and it was like, "Save yourself." Like, cut it off, essentially. Just like, don't even go there, don't even have that train of thought, don't even think about it. Focus on you. And I was like, wow, spirit is really looking out, because my mind was going there. My mind was going there like, man, I wish there was something more I could do. But the best thing that I could do
No,
is
you're not, Angelique.
save myself. What she said?
I'm gonna read it.
Okay.
You're not.
she she said, but spirit was like, save yourself. Save yourself. That is the best thing that you can do, because like Ray Mel said, jumping into the fire and being in the fire with them is no benefit to the situation at all. Is no benefit to the situation at all. So it's important to have that discernment and that awareness. And I also like how you share when you get off the phone or you exit an interaction with them, there's this thought in the mind, it's like, man, I wish we could have like a closer connection. Because there's like this idea that we have as people, like you're supposed to be family, and people show it in the movies, and everybody's all hunky dory and visiting on the weekend and sending each other memes, and this is what family and being a sibling is like. But that's not the truth for everyone. That's not my truth, not Ramel's truth, and I'm sure it's not the truth of a lot of people out there. And if that is your truth, that is beautiful, that is wonderful. I love that for you. But the thing is, when we don't have that, we have the tendency to be like, I wish I could do that. And what was coming up for me when you said that was how this morning, and Rose, I'm glad that you're on here today, because she kept being like, Su Erana, which was, they would say like, that's his sister, that's his sister. And, it's like, we call each other sister and brother because we're like spiritually, soulfully connected. And honestly, I talk to him more than I talk to my own siblings, but take that and leave that where it is. Um, and so having her say that, I was like, we is family.
Every time I introduce you to anyone, before I say your name, I say, this is my sister.
Yeah.
Never fails, because it's literally
My
how
brother
I see it.
Raymond. That's so true.
I never introduce your name until after people know who you are in my life.
Yes, and it's beautiful to be able to build that relationship and to know that I do have family in this life, that I have, we send each other things, we kiki and like we talk, and we support each other in different ways. We have conversations where we hold space and we listen. We encourage each other to like breathe and release, and Raymel will poke me and be like, what people, and we encourage each other to grow and expand. And I love that. I love having an older brother who's just like I can really look up to and admire and like cheer for, because I love being a little sister. That's like my natural, birthplace. You feel me? So I love having that. I love that the universe brought us together, because it is beautiful to have that. So again, if you have that naturally in your own family, fantastic. But also know, if you don't, it's possible to build it. It's possible to build it, because we are all just energy. And when we find that like energy and it feels like family, and it feels like love, and it feels like growth and connection, there's no reason to feel extended remorse.
Hold on.
There's no reason to feel extended remorse about your natural family, because God, source, the universe has aligned you with energetic beings that are your family. So I wanted to pop that in. But yeah, go read that.
I love
Comment.
that.
Go
All
read
right,
these
so
comments.
Rosa says it's hard for some people to get out of the fire because that's all they've ever known.
True.
Sister Angelique says sometimes I choose to put gasoline on the fire to see how hot that they really trying to get. And that's what she put, just cold joke. And I'm like, no, you're not, girl. You're Aries. You're Aries, so that fire is your natural just.
Aries instigator.
Are you Aries? Are you Aries, Angelique? Are you a Gemini? I want to say I think you're a fire sign. And then Rosa says until they actually feel safe of the person who wants to help them. So true. Angelique says, yes, discernment. I'm getting focused and serious now. I promise it's important information. Movies are also create expectation in people's consciousness and entitlement issues, I think. So family, I love you both. We love you too. And I love that you brought that up too, because growing up, that was literally the theme of my life. Why can't I have? Oh my goodness! When I say that, that literally is a part of my subconscious. Why can't I have this? And I will always have that question of why can't I have the loving family? Why can't I have the nice things? Why do my family have to be so dysfunctional? And even like after that experience with my family member the other day, that feeling came back up for me. Why does it have to be so hard to communicate? Oh, she's a Capricorn, but it's she's a Capricorn. But even that feeling of why does it have to be so complicated? Why can't we just have easy exchanges? And that's really a question that isn't really realistic, because through the contrast is where you grow. But either you're growing together or you're growing apart. And it's really becoming aware when you are outgrowing people. And I think we get so lost in that word family that we think that we don't outgrow them. And we often, based on your culture, your just teachings and upbringings, they teach you that family is blood is thicker than water and it's all about family. But I like to argue against that. Because just because we share the same blood does not mean that we are tied at the hip. It does not mean that we have to be ace cocooned. It means that we have the same blood in the sense flowing through us, but a lot of my blood family, I don't even know. I know them, but I don't know them. And my soul family, I know, because we've chosen to grow to reconnect with the truth of who we are, and that's how we're able to be in that space and place of unconditional love and have those organic, authentic exchanges. And I think we get so lost in like how, because Angelique said that these movies, the TV, this world says, well, this is what the ideal family should look like and what the ideal family should be, but that is not real. And then you have people judging themselves and shaming themselves and feeling less than themselves because they don't have that experience within themselves for with their family. And I know that was me. It's like, well, where's my white picket fence? Where's my Brady Bunch home and
where's
musicals
my giant Christmas tree
and
my
all the
little
things?
dog,
And that wasn't my reality. So it always was this thing, why can't I have? And I'm noticing that is where I find myself still getting lost. Why can't I have these experiences and just letting it be what it is? And even like for me, like even this family member, and I'm gonna speak this out loud because they made a reference to that they tried their hardest to protect me as a child, which they were very protecting, and it wasn't more the physical fight, but they said the one thing that they wasn't able to protect me from was my sexuality. And I had to bring to their awareness, I didn't need you to protect me from being me. I needed you
That's a
to
bold
hold
statement.
space to love me.
Mm,
Not even giving a damn if you accepted me, but to hear me, to
mm,
understand me. But you couldn't protect me. Did it freeze? But you couldn't protect me from being me. And the fact that you're holding that burden on your shoulders, that you
mm,
think that my sexual preference has anything to do that you have control over is a
mm,
non-factor. But it was good to know that that is something that they are
mm,
expressing, that they've held some type of feeling about. But even that, the case of that, I had to bring to your awareness that I didn't need you to protect me from myself. I
mm,
needed you to create that space for me to be myself
mm,
and feel safe to do that without me having to be a certain version of myself for you to accept, or a certain version of myself for you to love and not judge. Because I used to, and I'm not sure if they got amnesia about our childhood, but growing up, they used to say little sly things that as a child, you're
mm.
keeping note
Oh,
and
yes.
you're keeping tabs, and you're like, okay, so you're saying this. That means that I can't come to you with this,
I
because that
can't be
means that
this way
you are
around
gonna
you.
react in this way.
Mhm.
So I used to hold a lot of things in, and it made our bond start to slowly dwindle away.
Mm,
Because if I don't feel safe, you're not getting all of me. You're getting portions of me that feels only safe to be a part of your reality.
mm,
Mm.
that's rich. Wow. Because I
Oh, it's
definitely.
my sister. Come on. Hey, I love you.
Hey, Shaquan. I don't know you, but
That's my
hey.
sister.
Oh, hey, girl, hey. But it's wild because, like you're saying, like we're, family, and there's this idea that, your family is where you can be like the safest, and this is what, the people who really know you and all these types of things. But the truth of the matter is, there's a lot of things that we hold back from our family because we hear everything they have to say. No filter, because you're family, right? You can just say whatever, and we're supposed to just forget it and not think about it. But our subconscious remembers. We
Mm-hmm.
hold that in our mind. We hold that in our heart and in our core, and we navigate the world differently around those people based on what they say, just like we would with a teacher or a coach or a stranger on the street. It's the same exact thing because we are picking up how we can navigate our world in safety and security. And if somebody in our family, hey Sandra,
Hey, Sandra.
and if somebody is in our family and they're saying little slight things about, like, my family didn't know I was queer. I'm not gay because I do like men, but I am queer and I do like women. And I am in a season where I prefer. You feel me? And that was not something that they knew about me. Even though in third grade, I got caught in the bathroom trying to mess around with another girl.
Mm.
Nobody knew this. I don't think they even told my mom the actual situation that was going on. She just saw me holding, when I went to Catholic school, y'all. They would make us stand, we would make us stand and hold books like this as punishment. And they're like, I don't know what they told her, but I don't think they told her what the actual rundown was. Because I have maybe I just suppressed the memory.
And unfortunately, they would have tried
Mhm.
to beat it out of you
Yeah,
because they would have thought that that was not
acceptable
what
in
is
the church.
acceptable.
You feel me? And so, like, throughout my whole life, like, nobody that I was close to, well, not close to, but nobody in my family knew that about me. You feel me? And my bestie did. You feel me? Like, other people that I kind of like randomly met, we just had conversations, and I was willing to open that up. They knew that about me, but I couldn't do that with my family because of different conversations we had had, different ways they had talked about homosexuality or queer people in society in general, or like seeing somebody in a movie. My siblings, very, very open with the faggot word. And I was like, okay, gonna let you just have that over there. We won't be talking about this. Because I don't want that beef. I don't want to deal with it. And I know for a fact I don't have to deal with it because I know how you want me to perform to be accepted, and I can do that. And I just really, wow, it's just so profound. It's
When
just,
you talk about it,
yeah.
that starts to connect. You're like, wow, this is, wow, that is.
And you really, it's really, what is the word? It's just really silly how society tries to paint this picture that is not real when most of us know for a fact that we are not our true selves around our family. Period. That's all I'm gonna say because I want to see what actually.
Angelique, we excited to hear what do you have to share? Because I know you coming with that Capricorn heat, not the Aries.
You have to put her foot down.
No, I was gonna comment, like, they were deleting my comment from the blood is thicker than water, and I do wanna get to that, cause it's pertaining to this, but I do have a question for Angelique, and I can't see you on my screen for whatever reason now, it's black. And I hope it's okay with you all, I have like a prayer candle that's on for
Yeah.
like keeping the energy clean and just bringing in that love frequency for all of our highest and greatest good. Because fuck that shit, right?
Okay.
But you mentioned how they like to use the F word, right? That ends with a T. Did you ever have a discussion with them about that, or is it something that you just kind of let slide because they're your family?
Well, it was one of those things where they weren't really open to discussion. I'm like, if I remember bringing it up to them and just being like, why are you using that word so hostily? Like, why do you keep saying that? Like, what does that even mean? And they just basically were like laughing it off and just kept saying it over and over again. I was like, okay, we're clearly not about to have a discussion here because you clearly do not care. So I'm gonna just let you know, hey, try not to use that around me because I don't like it. And they're like, okay, whatever. You feel me? But that's pretty much as far as that
You
conversation.
know the funny thing that word growing up for me would be the only thing you can call me gay, sissy, but that word I literally would be ready to fight people because it was so daggering in my heart because I felt like that was like the N word. Or like you're really trying to cut me and that's where
It's a sharp word.
So that for me, like that was fighting words. Now it's just a word because it doesn't hold meaning to me in the way that it did, but it's just literally a word. Even the word gay, like it's just a word. It's not who I am, it's what I experience in this human form. So that's where, as I have that awareness, I'm not attached to the label. So I don't have to fight for the label, but I am experiencing what that label would be. So that's where you can call me whatever you want, but that's not a reflection of me. It's just a projection of you.
Thank you both for sharing that, because obviously, I know, like, I'm also bisexual. And so the true thing, what I wanted to touch on, and also I'm gonna be jumping back and forth from like what you two were just saying, because a lot was said, and I just love how you guys are sharing your stories, right? So the saying "blood is thicker than water" is actually like spoken incorrectly a lot of the times, and people don't know that it doesn't necessarily, it's not speaking about blood is thicker than water, so meaning you have to do for your family than strangers. It's actually blood of the covenant is thicker than the waters of the womb. And what that is saying is that the blood of the covenant of your DNA, so this could also be soul family, right? Is thicker than the waters of the womb in a sense where, water is life, water is healing, and we are birthed from the divine mother, right? And it has a shady side to it because that religion is a lot of the indoctrinations came to you know um remove the feminine concept and belittle it, or it did what it was doing a lot of different things to create like legal um constructs and whatnot. I don't want to dive too deep into that, but it was really to reprogram the mind. So the blood of the covenant was those that made the pacts to each other. So like by you two calling each other brother and sister, right, and making a pact to really honor each other's soul, that would be the blood of the covenant, right? So if you would like to like cut, that's why like in certain rituals they actually cut the blood and they join hands together, and that's making a pact. Like we are the blood of the covenant, and it's thicker than the waters of the womb because we all come from the divine mother. And that means that even quote unquote family, even though they come from the divine waters of the womb, they may not be as thick, they may not be as tight, they may not comprehend you know, what is in the covenant itself, if that makes sense. And I didn't always know that. And so, because I used to always, that saying, when you said it, I was like, oh, how many times did I like felt like I was bleeding, sweating, crying to kind of get them to be like, yo, blood is thicker than water. Like, yo, like I'm your sister, I'm your daughter, I'm you. Like, see me, feel me. I'm trying to like help you and wanting to be this like savior, like literally fucking. I don't know. I must have been that baptism that they did for me as a child had me thinking. I was like, all right, I'm a walk on water like Jesus and get these people to change their mind. And like now I understand how I am walking on water is just different from their appearances, right? Um, and for me, like I feel like I'm me on and off the internet. Like my family, whether they liked it or not, I that's why I asked if you like told them, because my family sometimes they can make very inappropriate comments, and I definitely have my fair share of getting like isolated or being called disrespectful when they were the ones that was actually like disrespecting, right? Because I will call them out and I'm like, I'm not gonna enable their behavior around me. Like if I continue to just tolerate it and ignore it, then I'm enabling them to believe that they can treat me however they feel like treating me because I'm their sister, or because they have more muscle, or they have more height, or whatever the case. Like, and I'm the like smallest one from them and stuff like that. I'm also the youngest too, of my generation, there. But when I hear that, I remember walking with my girlfriend, living. I was a teenager, and um, like my mom used to swear up and down. Like I remember her yelling at me, talking about, "You don't like girls, you like boys," and all of this, and going crazy. And y'all want to talk about fire? Like, she was throwing my stuff out the window and all of this in the city. Anything that had a rainbow, like anything that had a rainbow, all of a sudden was flying out the fucking window. And I just remember her like really blasting off and going into all these places and with her words. And I was just looking at her and I went off. The fire in me definitely charged up because growing up as a child, one of her closest friends was a gay guy. And he's the one who taught her how to like dance in heels and all of this. And forget about it. You could not use the F word around her or him at all, because if you used it, my mom was gonna like fight you, or she was gonna like think. But because she was like that protective over her, like he was her close friend, and she loved him. We grew up seeing like certain gay movies and stuff like that, like just because like the Birdcage, like it was just funny and we liked it and stuff. And um it was like a normal just wanted two of them because what happened was she found a letter. She was being nosy,
Hey, Sister
having
Jessica.
entitlement issues. Yeah, hey mom, if you're listening, just in case, because my mom be watching. And he had this like entitlement issue of, oh, I'm your mother, so I could go through your things and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she snuck into my sister's room and went into her, I think it was like her journal or diary or something like that. And there was like a love letter that my sister had for one of her girlfriends at the time. And it wasn't even her girlfriend. It was like a confessional letter. Like my sister was at that time, she was confused. She wasn't sure if she liked girls or not because this girl was like activating it in her. The whole time growing up, my sister used to fight me. She would punch me because I would call her a butch, and I was like, sometimes you feel like a butch, sometimes you don't. But my sister was really mean to me, so that was me like being my version of being mean back to her. Which now I'm like, no, that's hurtful. But um, my sister threw me underneath the bus when my mom found out about her because my sister knew about me because she didn't have nobody to talk to and she wanted to like get it off her chest, and so she confided in me, which was crazy because we were like literally enemies. We literally like on site used to fight. Like people in my family used to be like, yo, they're gonna kill each other one day. We literally like multiple times almost were so close and decided not to because we were siblings. It was like that bad. So, anyways, she threw me underneath the bus. The difference between me and my sister was that the moment they found out about me, I was like, yeah, I already know. I've been me the entire time. Like, y'all just weren't having the eyes to see. That's not my fault. Like that y'all were choosing. For me, it was that they were choosing to be blind because it was unspoken of, rather than um that I was hiding it or something, because I really wasn't at all. Which is why I think made it comfortable for my sister to talk to me about it because she was like curious and stuff like that. And I just remember when my mom was being so disrespectful and insulting and calling me out of my name, calling me all these things. And I was like, yo, her friend's name, he passed away. He passed away from AIDS. His name is Dory. And I have so much love for his spirit. He's such a dancing queen. He's such a beautiful, always laughed, always, and his legs, oh, so thick and tight. Oh my God, he had like Bray Mel. You know how your arms, your muscles, like his legs, you could just see the muscles. It was just he was so beautiful, and and he wasn't like drag or anything like that. He did dress. I remember him like seeing him dressed like a man. Maybe because of like the time frame of things, but um I just remember feeling so hurt, like, oh, you would call me that, but you wouldn't dare let anyone call your friend that, right? And I had to really sit with that a few times in my life because how often is it that our family would call us names or say things to us that they wouldn't dare say to a stranger, right? Like the hurtful things we have the audacity to like come to, and it's usually to the people that they love the most and stuff like that. But it's the to me, that's why I said with like the movies, with the entitlement, and um I love how you mentioned like not being stuck on the label no more of that word, because these words, these labels really do give people entitlement issues sometimes where, oh, just because you're my mother doesn't mean you have a right to go through journals, doesn't mean you have a right to go into my private space or throw my stuff out that you didn't even pay for, right? So I know I kind of like said a lot there, but it was because everything that y'all were saying, it was just hitting so many points in my mind. And, I think one of the biggest thing that's important is knowing that the same way we can choose our friends is remembering that before, at least for me, I do believe that we chose our family before we actually came here to have this human experience for divine purposes to get where we are. So how I look at that is I chose them for the lessons and the purpose. It's like choosing a relationship, right? It doesn't mean you have to enable or tolerate the conversations that they're trying to have with you. It doesn't mean that they have a right to use their entitlement issues to put you in a certain space. Like we are, it's okay for us to choose to walk away, and it's okay for us to even feel more like family with our own friends, or our soul tribe.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I just said a lot.
No, and you said a lot of goodness, as I knew you were, because you come with the heat. That's why I called you the fire. No, but I love that. And what really came through as you were talking, Angelique, is that there is that sense of entitlement. And there's like, and a lot of times, how you said, like, family will talk to us or treat us in a way that they don't treat their friends or quote unquote loved one. But we will also let them talk to us in a way that we wouldn't let anyone else, let someone else outside of family come to you and say or do the things your family do. It is a non-negotiable that you about to get. You about to fuck around and find out why you will ever not do that again. But I feel like even the sense of that label, that title, family, that we're like, well, it's just my family, and I can just, they're just being them, and it's like, but if they're being them, then they're showing me that I need to honor and be me and express what needs to come through for me. And I want to say like that tug of war, because a part of you wants to be in love, you want to be in understanding, you want to be in that place of holding space. But also, there's that part of you that is not gonna deal with the BS. Like, you're not gonna deal with the shit. You're not gonna deal with them just speaking to you, treating you, and coming at you in a way that you wouldn't let any other person do. So that's where, for me, where I'm at on my journey, I'm able to honor when I'm meant to exit the premises and not even allow myself to be in that exchange, because that is self-love for me. And growing up, I didn't love myself because I was taught conditional. So if I performed, if I did, then I can receive. And that's honestly and constantly how I treated myself. But now, if you do these things right, then you can love yourself, you can embrace yourself, you can accept yourself. If you don't do these, then you'll judge yourself. So me now getting to that place of fully embracing and truly loving me, I won't be in any toxic situation and allow that to be what I stand for and allow it to happen to me. And it took me a while to build this muscle. It literally did, because for so long I was that people pleaser. I was that overgiver. I was that, what do you need? Forget me. You need food. I'm hungry. You eat. And I didn't know how to serve myself or give to myself. And it took some strength. Like, when you're unfamiliar with that, it's not something you just jump into and you start doing. You have to gradually start to put those reps in, build that muscle, get into that rhythm, and that's how you start to show up from that place and you stand in that space. But that was something that I worked so hard for. And even like I had the exchange with my family this week. And when they started to talk down to me, I'm like, the first thought that came into my mind, what the fuck are you talking to right now? Was the first thought, but I didn't articulate that, because where I'm at in my awareness, I'm able to notice the thought pass through, honor the feeling that was coming through, and then speak from a place of, okay, you're yelling, I don't even have the energy to yell because that's not where I'm at. So I'm just gonna try to insert and let you see, let you know. And if you're not in that place of receptivity, then I gotta let you go and I'll hang up. And now, to me, I'd be like, well, am I copping out by hanging up? Am I not facing the fire or facing, and it's like, no, but you have to do what feels aligned for you. And why are you gonna try to make a deaf person hear you when they don't have the capacity to? Why are you trying to make a blind person see you when that's not what's in their ability to? And that's where I had to start knowing I'm talking to deaf ears, I'm trying to be seen to blind eyes, and I start to go into spaces where I'm heard, where I'm seen, where I love, and that's where I'm able to honor where I'm at and not get pulled back to where I was.
And something that came up for me earlier, I'm glad for you that you circled kind of back around to that, because when you said that feeling of, why can't I have that? But like, loving family, we're all together, we can actually confide in each other, and it's not like shady, you're gonna throw it back in my face or whatever. What came up for me was that's like an inner child voice. It's like, or at least it was coming through for me that way, like little me being like, why can't I have the doggy in the window? You feel me? Like, why can't I have the dog? Why can't I, live in a nice car? Why can't, or live in a nice house? Why can't I have a nice bike with the cool, streamers on the side? Like, why can't I just have a family that I feel loving with? And that's a tender space, because when we are in this work now and having that awareness that we are on a journey to nurture our inner child so that we can be our fullest self, so that we can fully love and embrace ourselves. And that for me, my inner child is a representation of God for me. Like my 8, 9 year old self, when I think of God, I think of her, because she was just like bold and creative and like feisty and just so full of joy and love and adventure. And so when I think of God in like a human kind of form, I see that little girl and I love her so much. And when I heard that question, she was like, yo, that's something that I feel. That's something that I feel.
Why did it do the thumbs down?
It's like, move. It's okay, Instagram. You ain't gonna take what resonates.
I'm not with them. Dude, you can't even see it, Angelique. Like, you know how sometimes it does the thumbs up? It did the thumbs down.
but yeah, it's a tender spot, because she was like, why is that? I relate to that.
Mhm.
And I think on this journey, again, just having that awareness of our inner child and nurturing that, but also having the awareness now where it's like just holding space for them to feel that and say it's okay that you have this desire for a loving family. It's okay that you want to have more loving experiences with the people that you are blood related to. That's okay. But, and I guess I should say, it's okay to have that and look at all of the love that we have in our life now and how that is so fulfilling and so rich and so satisfying. And I kind of did that with myself internally, and that was kind of why I brought it up in the conversation. Um, and that satisfied her, you know? It satisfied her because, like, just knowing that that love is there and that that's what she wants, it's okay. Like, it literally is okay that I don't get that from my siblings or from my cousins. And even though they seem all close and stuff, I'm sure I already know for a fact, I'm not sure, I know there's a lot of drama and intermingling and entanglement is the word that I was thinking of. There's a lot of that going on, even though they all seem so close knit. You feel me? I know I never wanted that, which is why I don't have relationships with them like that. I wanted something like what me and Ray Mel have. I wanted something like what me and Carrie have. I know a lot of y'all don't know Carrie, but she is like my other sister friend. You feel me? And it's a beautiful bond that we have, and we can just share and hold space for each other and grow with each other and let each other be where we are and check in and be like, hey, in a phone call with I love you and like genuinely mean it. And it's beautiful to have that. So yeah, I just love that you brought that up, because that inner child work is real. And also, Angelique, I appreciate you bringing up the historical context of the blood is thicker than water. Because I was gonna say it, but then I was like, let's just see where the conversation goes. I don't want to dive it all into the history of it, but I was aware of that. So I'm just glad that you unpacked it more for us, because it has been switched around and it actually means the opposite of what people are telling us it means. And so I'm glad that you did dive into that and expand people's awareness. Because like, here's the thing about words and phrases and things of that nature. They mean what we believe they mean. You know, the history of it is what it is, but if we don't know the history and we're just going around using these terms, they mean what we think they mean. And so that's why I was kind of just like, I'll let it roll or whatever, because it's not that deep to me. But I do appreciate that you brought that awareness into the conversation, because it does expand people's minds. You know, it's like, oh, that doesn't mean what it means. Because I remember when I found out, I was like, oh, people are just out here saying stuff and they didn't even know what it
Repeating what
means.
they don't know because it sounds good.
Just creating a whole new meaning for things. But yeah, I just also wanted to tap that in there too.
I
I
was like
appreciate
to my sister, "You're not my sister no
you.
more. You're not in my covenant."
Listen.
No, but I wanted to ask you a question, right? Because this is so, oh my gosh, y'all are just so juicy, man. Like, you were talking about with Raymel and your friends, like, just the relationship that, like, these are the relationships that you've been wanting with your family and, like, this love, right? So, I guess maybe for those that's either, like, new on this journey or maybe they've been on this journey for a while but just haven't found a space or a way or heard it and you know, whatever, maybe they just need to hear it from you to have, like, an epiphany or something, right? Um, you started explaining earlier how you were wanting, and I kind of wish I could see our faces so like I can. I feel like I don't want to look at the screen because I feel like I'm talking to myself. It's so weird, but you were talking about the donkey with the window and the car and the house and the doll and all
Mm.
these things. That's how you was breaking down the dynamic of wanting a happy home, like this picture perfect experience of a happy home. But that's not how you broke down the experience of like your soul family, right? You broke it down with like your relationship and connection with them, even though there's no picket fence, there's no
Mm.
donkey, there's not the nice house, it's not the nice car. It is what it is, and yet the love is still there. That's what I hear. That's how I interpreted what
Mm.
you were sharing, right?
Okay, yeah.
And you use those because you didn't use those words, but that's what I
Mm.
hear. Is like she's loving them despite the appearances of the materialistic stuff because it's really not about the material. It was never about the materialistic things,
Mm.
but yet when it came down to like that family desire, you painted this picture in which with your friends or your soul tribe, that picture wasn't painted in that way. It was painted in just love. So is
Mm.
it that your expectations are different because they were strangers, or
Hello,
that there were expectations with family, or there's no, like, can you help us go down through the journey of where you discovered that love first with yourself to even find it in others, and like did that expectations even shift with your family, or I don't know if I'm
Hmm.
making sense with my question.
I appreciate the question. And I was more so using those examples of like, why can't I have the car? Why can't I have the nice house? Or I said the doggy in the window because of the song, the little nursery rhyme or whatever. But donkeys are cool too. You feel me? But
I
it's
was literally thinking like miniature horse, like I was like, oh, she's
Mm. Like My Little Pony.
yeah, like, or
yes,
even that.
exactly,
But it's
exactly.
just like that that feeling of desire, like it wasn't so much of I wanted material things from my family or to have certain conditions with my family. It was like the uh, the donkey that I wanted was my family love. It's like, why can't I have that love on the shelf? Why can't I have that love in the barn? Why can't I have the love that other people are experiencing that's available? Clearly it's available and it's there. Why can't I have it? And as far as like, you did ask a few questions. So as far as like having the love in myself to, have that love from Raymel and Carrie and Stacy and like so many other beautiful people. Leah, love me some Leah. Um, I had to, and I actually wrote about this in my ebook, Love Book. I had to, I had to really go into myself and learn how to love myself first. Because if I had met them prior to my journey, and we kind of all started our journey around a similar time, so beautiful universal alignment, But if I had met them prior to that, our relationships probably wouldn't be the same. And not even probably, definitely. You feel me? Because I was still in a space where I wasn't really receptive to close relationships because of the familial relationships that I had. So I wouldn't have felt comfortable enough to be vulnerable and to be held, you feel me? Literally and emotionally. I wouldn't have had the capacity to hold that. So it wasn't like a different like condition externally where they had different things physically. It was more so me being able to accept the love that they were putting out and me trusting myself enough to receive it and to believe in my intuition that these are safe people and I can, confide in them and I can hold space with them and let them know what's really going on. Okay, thank you. Um, and then as far as like, I guess again with the conditions, it wasn't like a physical thing with my family either. Raymel, listen, we shared the story about how Raymel totally shut me down about staying with him, so it was definitely not that. Um, but again, it's just being willing to actually listen to me and honor my feelings and trusting me to hold space for them. Because one of the saddest things for me growing up was wanting to be close to my siblings and my family and like have real conversations with them, but them not feeling safe enough to have those conversations with me. Probably because I was, the younger sibling, and maybe when I was like 6 or something, I told on them or something. It's just like things we go through. I couldn't even tell you because it's not my experience, but just their perception of me. Um, they didn't trust me to hold space for them and to be vulnerable. Um, but like Raynell does, Carrie does, like all these people that I know now that are my soul family, they do, and that's a beautiful place to be in, and just kind of to cut this so we have our time. It's a two-way relationship. If you're constantly being the one that's pouring into, but the other person isn't feeling safe enough to pour into you, it makes you feel like, oh, I'm not contributing to this relationship, you know. But yeah. But yeah, we got like 7 minutes left. So final thoughts, y'all. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. If you came from Angelique's page, make sure you follow Raymel and myself. Well, Ramel's about to be on the social media fast, but still follow. He got a whole bank catalog on his page for y'all. And I'll still be here. But yeah, final thoughts, y'all.
You want to share anything else, Sister Angelique?
No, I just, thank you both for your open hearts, your, being in the truth of your love languages, despite the appearances of, and getting to that space where you found solace within yourself and with the soul family that you created again, right? And that's again because this time around with your peers or, however that may look for you and for anybody. So I'm in gratitude. I'm in awe. I'm grateful for this space and hearing y'all, sharing your stories and sharing the wisdom. So thank you very much.
And I want to thank you, Angelique, because in the short window of time that we've been connected, you are a soul family that I would like to say I'm grateful for, because recently I just shared like some things that I was experiencing with you, and I didn't doubt for a second before I shared were you safe for me to express. And I just knew that because of your presence, your essence, and just who you are, that is a space that I could. So I just thank you, because that's how you found your people, when you don't have to question, did I share too much? Should I have said that? And you just do it so openly and freely, and you leave it there because you know it's going to be welcomed, embraced, and you know you're going to be supported. So I just celebrate you and I thank you, because this is a testament on your journey and your own inner work. I feel like we live in a world now where in social media that people put on these fronts, but outside of social media, that's not who they are. So when you find those who are genuinely, like you said, who you are on social is who you are outside, that is the real conversation. We haven't met in person just yet, but I already know when we do, this is what I'm gonna get. I already know this is what I'm gonna get, and this is what you're gonna get. And that's just a beautiful thing, that you're able to really be your true self and allow others to be that in your space, whether we're on a live, whether we're in the DMs, whether we're texting, like, and I just want to just celebrate you and say how much I'm grateful for you, because those gems, when they come into your life, you appreciate them and you don't overlook them or take advantage of them, and you just allow yourself to collect them and know that it's in alignment with who you are. So I just wanted to give you your flowers live in person, because that's beautiful.
Love it. What a beautiful conversation. Wow, I'm so grateful for this space.
And I feel like we're gonna have to run back family conversations. I feel like there's so much that we could unpack and talk about, because I feel like this is not a conversation many do. And I feel like how you were kind of slightly sharing about like there is that we deal with the neglect, we deal with the mistreatment, we kind of, well, this is my family and we're just gonna stick in this, and I see that so much, and it's like, for me,
So normal.
I had to choose to not be in the toxic fakeness, because there'll be the family reunions, the family get-togethers. I recently experienced that beginning of the year with my uncle's passing, and all of the family were together and we acting like we best friends. In reality, y'all talking about the person the minute they leave out the room, or the minute they go to the store, you're talking about them. So that toxic fakeness of family, it's like we can go so much into just more depth about this. Which I feel like when I come back from my fast, that we can bring this back, because I did have some other things to handle before, so it kind of took our time away. But I want to bring this back. So I feel like this is a conversation. The more we get deeper under the layers, people will have the realizations like, damn, I'm literally in a toxic family relationship now. Not me, but I'm saying that's what the ahas are having, like, oh my goodness. So I feel like we can bring so much awareness to this.
That's important because it's such a normalized, expected thing, but that's a whole nother hour and a half of conversation. So we love you all. And if you feel like you want to hold space in your place where you are, by all means, the world needs it. But we love you. We won't see you next week.
Next week, I'm going on my social media fast, where both of my sisters, Angelique, have supported me in that. And I will be back refreshed, rejuvenated, and ready to serve from overflow. I love you all, and we will see you all later. Bye.
That was good.
Yeah, I felt like definitely we could. I feel like we can have a whole series on family.